Welcome to my videos. PL 200 Microsoft Power Platform Functional Consultant Latest Exam 100 Questions and Answers.
The owner of a company needs to know who signs into the system. You need to ensure that the owner can view the user audit logs. Where does each action need to be performed? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Correct answer. Activate user auditing in system settings. View the user audit logs in Microsoft 365 Compliance. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. List view of the entity. B. Microsoft Visual Studio. C. Templates area. D. A Maker portal. Correct answer, A. List view of the entity. You create a Power Apps portal to provide training and documentation for students. Students create a profile on the portal and then select and pay for courses. You plan to add free courses to the training portfolio. Free courses must be automatically available to all students after they sign in. You need to assign default permissions to students. What should you do? A. Create a student's web role and set the authenticated user's role option to true. Assign the web role to each registered user. B. Create an entity for managing free courses. Create entity permission records to provide access to entity records for free courses and assign the entity permissions to users when they register on the portal for the first time. C. Create an entity for managing free courses. Create a student's web role and set the authenticated user's role option to true. Create appropriate entity permissions to access the free course entity records and assign the entity permissions to the web role. Correct answer, A. You create workflows to automate business processes. You need to configure a workflow to meet the following requirements. Be triggered when a condition is met. Run immediately. Perform an action when a condition is met. You need to create a workflow that automatically sends emails based on a mail merge template. To answer, select the appropriate configuration in the answer area. Correct answers. Be triggered when a condition is met, subject contains data. Run immediately, configure the workflow run now. Perform an action when a condition is met, send an email. You are a Dynamics 365 customer service administrator. You need to configure the following automation for the sales team. Send an email when the status changes on an opportunity. Text the sales manager when an opportunity is created. Create a Wunderlist task when an opportunity is open for 30 days. Which tool should you use for each requirement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Correct answers. Email when the status changes using Tool Dynamics 365 Workflow. Text when an opportunity is created using Tool Microsoft Flow. Create a Wunderlist task using Tool Microsoft Flow. A company uses Microsoft Dataverse to manage prospects. The company has a business process flow named BPFA that is associated with the prospect entity to streamline the prospect management process. You add a field named category to the prospect entity. You create additional business process flows. You apply the business process flows to prospect records based on the selected category. Users can switch to any other newly configured business process flows, but must not use BPFA. You need to configure the solution. What are two possible ways to achieve this goal? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Remove all of the privileges for BPFA. B. Use a business rule to prevent users from switching to BPFA. C. Deactivate BPFA. D. Change the display order of the business process flows to move BPFA to the bottom of the list. Correct answer, A and C. Remove all of the privileges for BPFA. And deactivate BPFA. You are creating a business rule to implement new business logic. You must apply the business logic to a Canvas app that has a single screen named Screen 1. You need to configure the scope for the business rule. Which scope should you use? A. Screen 1. B. Entity. C. All forms. D. A global. Correct answer, B. Entity. You are a Dynamics 365 Customer Services Administrator. You have a production instance and sandbox instance. Users record production instance data in the sandbox instance. You need to ensure that the users only record data in the production instance. Which security function needs to be edited to prevent access to the sandbox? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Correct answers. Microsoft 365 Admin Center Groups. Dynamics 365 Sandbox Instance Groups. You must create a new entity to support a new feature for an app. Records for the entity must be associated with a business unit and specify security roles for the business unit. You need to configure entity ownership. Which entity ownership type should you use? A. User or team owned. B. Organization owned. C. None. D. Business owned. Correct answer, A. User or team owned. You need to ensure that there are no leads for a customer before you create a new opportunity for the customer. How can you use duplicate detection rules to achieve this goal? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Correct answers. Base record type, lead. Base record field, account. You have two Microsoft Power Platform environments. Users in one environment must not be able to see the other environment. You need to grant salespeople access to the sales company environment. What should you do? A. Add salespeople to an Office 365 security group. B. Add salespeople to a security role. C. Set privileges. D. Set app security. Correct answer, A. Add salespeople to an Office 365 security group. A veterinary office plans to use Power Platform to streamline customer experiences. The customer creates a Canvas apps to manage appointments. On the client appointment form, there is a drop-down field for clients to select their type of pet. If a client selects the option Other, the veterinarian wants a text field to appear so that additional details can be added. You need to create a dynamically visible field. What should you configure? A. Workflow. B. Business process flow. C. Business rule. Correct answer, C. Business rule. You create an app for the sales team at a company. Members of the sales team cannot access the app. You need to ensure that sales team members can access the app. Where should you configure app permissions? A. Dynamics Administration Center. B. Manage roles. C. Security roles. Correct answer, B. Manage roles. You create a parent entity and a child entity. The parent entity has a one-end relationship with the child entity. You need to ensure that when the owner changes on the parent record that all child records are assigned to the new owner. You need to configure the relationship behavior type. What should you use? A. Referential. B. Referential, restrict delete. C. Parental. D. Restrict. Correct answer, C. Parental. You need to recommend a role for users to perform several required tasks. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. Which roles should you recommend? To answer, drag the appropriate roles to the correct functions. Each role may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Correct answers. Create new users, Office 365 Global Administrator. Assign roles to users, Dynamics 365 System Administrator. Perform backups for an instance, Dynamics 365 Service Administrator. You are designing an app for a bank. You must create entities for the app and configure relationships between entities. 1. Entity loan applicant requirement. This entity represents a person who is applying for a loan. The entity must contain an attribute named email. This attribute must provide lookup for the name of the applicant. 2. Entity loan requirement. This entity represents a loan application. Loan applicants may apply for one loan per application. Loan applicants may have more than one active application. 3. Entity property requirement. This entity represents the property that the applicant intends to purchase. Which relationship types should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate relationship types to the correct requirements. Each relationship type may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Correct answers. The email attribute of the loan applicant entity must provide a lookup to the contact name and email, relationship type N-to-1. Loan applicants can apply for one type of loan per relationship type application. Applicants can have more than one application. Relationship type N-to-N. Loans must be applied for a single property. Relationship type N-to-1. You administer the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform environments for Contoso, Limited. The company has a model-driven app that is used to track customer interactions with employees. The app uses standard table types for customers. A user named Elizabeth Rice signs into the app by using the following sign-in name, elizabeth.rice@contoso.com. After marriage, Elizabeth changes her legal name to Elizabeth Mueller. You need to update the sign-in name for the user without losing any application history. Solution: change Elizabeth username in the user record for the app. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer, A. You administer the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform environments for Contoso, Limited. The company has a model-driven app that is used to track customer interactions with employees. The app uses standard table types for customers. A user named Elizabeth Rice signs into the app by using the following sign-in name, elizabeth.rice@contoso.com. After marriage, Elizabeth changes her legal name to Elizabeth Mueller. You need to update the sign-in name for the user without losing any application history. Solution: ask the Microsoft 365 administrator to sign in to the admin portal and change the username. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer, A. You administer the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform environments for Contoso, Limited. The company has a model-driven app that is used to track customer interactions with employees. The app uses standard table types for customers. A user named Elizabeth Rice signs into the app by using the following sign-in name: elizabeth.rice@contoso.com. After marriage, Elizabeth changes her legal name to Elizabeth Mueller. You need to update the sign-in name for the user without losing any application history. Solution: delete the user account in the Power Platform admin portal and recreate the account by using the new name. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer, B. You need to create a system chart for the account entity. The chart must display a count of accounts grouped by owner and then display the accounts by address 1, state/province for each owner. You begin to configure chart options as shown in the image. How should you complete the configuration? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. The chart must display a count of accounts grouped by owner, and then display the accounts by address 1 to state/province for each owner. Correct answers. Legend entries, series, select field account. Legend entries, series, aggregate count all. Horizontal, category, axis labels, select fields. First grouping field owner. Second grouping field, address 1, state/province. A user has access to an existing common data service database. You need to ensure that the user can create Canvas apps that consume data from Dataverse. You must not grant permissions that are not required. Which out-of-the-box security role should you assign to the user? A. Environment admin. B. System customizer. C. Common data service user. D. Environment maker. A company deploys several model-driven apps. The company uses shared devices in their warehouse. The devices are always powered on. Users log on to the devices and then launch the apps to perform actions. Unauthorized users recently uploaded several files after another user failed to log out of a device. The company needs to prevent these incidents from occurring in the future. You need to configure the solution to prevent the reported security incidents. What should you do? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Answer. Under Prevent unauthorized access to devices. Set a timeout in the Power Platform Admin Center. Under Prevent users from uploading a specific type of file. Enter the restricted file types in the SharePoint Admin Center. A company's sales staff wants a simplified way to manage their opportunities in Dynamics 365 sales without adding custom code. You need to provide a solution for each requirement. Which solutions should you provide? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Answer area. Under Drag and Drop opportunities to change the stage. Add a carbon control. Under Show each salesperson their opportunities in Calendar and Carbon view. Add both controls to the My Opportunities view. Under Show each salesperson the number of open opportunities by stage in a standard view. Use List view. You administer the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform environments for Contoso, Limited. The company has a model-driven app that is used to track customer interactions with employees. The app uses standard table types for customers. A user named Elizabeth Rice signs into the app by using the following sign-in name, elizabeth.rice@contoso.com. After marriage, Elizabeth changes her legal name to Elizabeth Mueller. You need to update the sign-in name for the user without losing any application history. Solution: from Dynamics 365 Settings, select Email Configuration. In the active mailbox for the user, update the name. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Answer: B. You plan to implement Microsoft Dataverse. You must track changes for 2 columns in the account table. You must maintain a historical log of changes for the 2 columns and track only what is necessary. You configure the appropriate organization settings. You need to configure the system to track changes for the 2 columns. Which 2 actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Enable auditing for the account table. B. Enable auditing for the 2 specific columns. C. Enable change tracking for the account table. D. Enable change tracking for the 2 specific columns. Correct answer. A. Enable auditing for the account table. B. Enable auditing for the 2 specific columns. On a contact record, a user creates a note record that contains the word running. 1 week later, the user reports that they cannot find the contact record associated with the note record. You need to find the note record. Solution: use categorized search to search for the word run. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer. B. No. On a contact record, a user creates a note record that contains the word running. 1 week later, the user reports that they cannot find the contact record associated with the note record. You need to find the note record. Solution: use relevant search to search for the word run. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer. A. Yes. On a contact record, a user creates a note record that contains the word running. 1 week later, the user reports that they cannot find the contact record associated with the note record. You need to find the note record. Solution: use quick find search on the notes list to search for the word run. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer. B. No. You are implementing a model-driven app to support a new line of business. There are several places where automated business logic must be applied. You need to determine how to apply the business logic. Which method should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate methods to the appropriate business logic statements. Each method may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Select and place. Correct answers. Make a field read only until a predetermined value is exceeded using method business rule. Automatically send an email when a record status is changed to deactivated using method real-time workflow. Use the previous value of a field when value is automatically updated as part of the method using Power Automate Instant Flow. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. Advanced Find. B. Entities component of a solution. C. Microsoft Excel template. D. Templates area. Correct answer. A. Advanced Find. You develop a Power Apps app. Users report that the main form does not display data from other entities or allow them to edit data from other entities. You need to embed information from other entities in the form and allow users to edit the data. Which actions should you perform? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Correct answers. Edit data, add a quick create form. View data, add a quick view. A company uses a Canvas app to manage production resources in a specific region. Employees must be at company locations to use the app. Due to a sudden requirement for employees to work remotely, employees no longer commute to a specific location to conduct their work and cannot access the Canvas app. You must reconfigure the app to ensure that employees only access the app from a limited number of locations. You need to restrict access to the app. Which components should you configure? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Correct answers. Ensure that employees can only access the app from a specific region using component Azure Active Directory. Specify the locations where a user can access the app using component conditional access policy. You attempt to deactivate several currencies in a Microsoft Dataverse environment. You are not able to deactivate one of the currencies. You need to determine why you cannot deactivate the currency. What is the reason? A. You are not the currency record owner. B. The currency is used by an active business process. C. The currency is the base currency. D. The currency is used by another record. Correct answer. C. The currency is the base currency. A user has access to an existing Microsoft Dataverse database. You need to ensure that the user can create Canvas apps that consume data from Dataverse. You must not grant permissions that are not required. Which out-of-the-box security role should you assign to the user? A. Environment Admin. B. Basic User. C. Environment Maker. D. System Customizer. Correct answer. C. Environment Maker. You are configuring Microsoft Dataverse security. You plan to assign users to teams. Record ownership and permissions will differ based on business requirements. You need to determine which team types meet the requirements. Which team type should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate team types to the correct requirements. Each team type may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Select and place. Correct answers. Ability to own records in Dataverse team type Microsoft Teams team. Provides permissions without a security role assigned team type access team. You created and published several Canvas apps. After 5 weeks, you decide to review your app's Power Apps analytics data. Will you be able to see the app's usage report for the last 5 weeks? A. Yes, because the Power Apps Analytics retains data for the last 45 days. B. No, because the Power Apps Analytics retains data for the last 40 days. C. Yes, because the Power Apps Analytics retains data for the last 90 days. D. No, because the Power Apps Analytics retains data for the last 28 days. E. Yes, because the Power Apps Analytics retains data for the last 180 days. F. No, because the Power Apps Analytics retains data for the last 15 days. Correct answer. D. No, because the Power Apps Analytics retains data for the last 28 days. You need to set up authentication for the Power Apps portal based only on the OpenID Connect protocol. A. Azure ADFS. B. Facebook. C. Azure AD. D. Microsoft. E. Azure AD B2C. F. Google. Correct answers. C and E. You create an automation flow for the legacy desktop application using Power Automate Desktop Recorder. How does the recorder indicate the field and focus while capturing your operations with the legacy interface? A. The focused field is highlighted in yellow. B. The focused field is in a green box. C. The focused field is highlighted in red. D. The focused field is highlighted in green. E. The focused field is in a red box. F. The focused field is in a yellow box. Correct answers. E. The focused field is in a red box. You need to trigger a desktop flow built with Power Automate Desktop on your device by an instant flow. A. PowerShell. B. Web browser extension. C. Power Automate Desktop. D. Power BI Desktop. E. Microsoft SQL Express. F. On-premises data gateway. Correct answers. B, C, and F. You create several recordings of the actions you perform on your computer and group these recordings into activities by using Process Advisor. You complete the analysis of the recordings and want to know insights about the specific path. What are 2 visuals on the Process Analytics screen that can help you achieve your goal? A. Number of recordings. B. Variance by frequency. C. Recordings by time in min. D. Variance by time. E. Average time. Correct answers. B and D.
It has locations in the United States, Brazil, India, and Japan. The company conducts financial transactions in all of these regions. Financial transactions in Brazil are going to stop, but the office will remain open. Users must no longer be able to create records associated with the Brazilian currency. Historical records must remain intact. You need to configure Microsoft Dataverse to meet the requirement. What should you do? A. Disable the Brazilian language pack. B. Rename the Brazilian currency. C. Delete the Brazilian currency record. D. Deactivate the Brazilian currency record. Correct answer, D. You are setting up Power Apps security for a company. The company has a CEO, 2 vice presidents, and 10 managers. 5 support representatives report to each manager. You set up manager hierarchy so managers are able to view data only for the representatives who report to them. The CEO must be able to view all data for everyone. All support representatives must be able to view customer information in each other's data across all managers. You need to resolve issues that arise during testing. What should you do? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Issue managers are unable to view all their report data. Action Manager and reports to a separate business unit. Issue: the CEO is unable to view representative data but can view manager data. Action: add the CEO to the representative user record as a manager. Issue: 5 support representatives can view only their own data. Action: add users to field security. You are embedding a Power Apps visual in a Power BI dashboard. External customers must authenticate to have access to the dashboard. You need to configure the solution. Which 2 actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Set the Power BI service to authenticate users. B. Use a table in the Power BI dashboard. C. Publish to Power BI report server. D. Set the Power BI service to allow anonymous access. E. Share the Power Apps visual components with external users. Correct answers, A and E. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. Advanced Find. B. Entities component of a solution. C. Microsoft Excel template. D. System settings. Correct answer, B. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. Advanced Find. B. Entities component of a solution. C. Microsoft Excel template. D. System settings. Requirement: apply a security role to everyone in a business unit. Action: create a new team, add the business unit users, and then assign the security role to team. Requirement: ensure an individual can see records in their current business unit and a child business unit. Action: grant the user a security role from the child business unit. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. Microsoft Visual Studio. B. Maker Portal. C. Advanced Find. D. System settings. Correct answer, B. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. On a contract record, a user creates a note record that contains the word running. 1 week later, the user reports that they cannot find the contact record associated with the note record. You need to find the note record. Solution: use Dataverse search to search for the word run. Does the solution meet the goal? A. Yes. B. No. Correct answer, B. You are using the Data Import Wizard to import records into the account table from a CSV file. The CSV to table mapping is as follows: the name column represents the account name and maps to the account name column. The parent name column represents the holding company of the account with subsidiaries underneath. Records that are imported into the table are only related to other records in the file. You need to configure the import to create the relationship between records. What should you do? A. Map parent name in the CSV file to the parent account column. Select account name as the lookup criteria. B. Map parent name in the file to the parent account column. Select parent account as the lookup criteria. C. Create an alternate key on the account table by using the account name column. Do not map parent name in the file. D. Look up the record IDs of the records in the parent account column. Add the record IDs as a new column in the file. Map the new column to the parent account column. A company has a sales application that is supported by an Azure SQL database. You are developing a Power Apps app for use by customer service agents. The app must reference customer data from the sales application. Data in the sales application is constantly changing and must not be replicated in Microsoft Dataverse. Some customer data is considered sensitive. You must protect data for specific fields when users view data in the app. You need to configure table creation for the app. How should you configure the app? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Requirement: Dataverse table type to create for the referenced customer data. Action: create a virtual table. Requirement: protect sensitive customer data for specific fields. Action: create a secured column. A customer uses Power Apps to view and maintain their contacts that are stored in Microsoft Dataverse. Several columns must be configured to ensure the security settings for sales associates are view-only. You need to configure the access restrictions. Which component for field-level security should you use? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Action: enable the fields for record-level security. Component: Power Apps App Designer. Action: set the security settings for the sales associates to view-only. Component: Field Security Profiles. Drag drop: you modify a model-driven app for a bicycle repair help desk. The model-driven app is for help desk users when customers have an issue with their bicycle. After you add a custom table named bicycle, you configure the table for Microsoft Dataverse search. The table will contain information from callers about their bicycles. The account table is related to the custom table. Contact information is brought over to the custom table. You add the following columns to the table: bicycle type, tire brand, special equipment. Users must be able to perform the following types of searches: search for all customers who have a bicycle type of Contiso and live in Florida. Search all tables for any record that contains the word broken. You need to decide which type of search will give you the results desired. Which search should you configure? To answer, drag the appropriate search types to the correct requirements. Each search type may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Select and place. Requirement: customer with bicycle type of Contiso and lives in Florida. Search type: advanced find. Requirement includes the word broken across tables. Search type: Dataverse search. Drag drop: you make the following customizations to a Microsoft Dataverse environment. Create a new table. Add data to the new table. Delete an unused area from the sitemap. The components must be transported to a different environment. You need to determine the method required to transport each component. Which method should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate methods to the correct components. Each method may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Component: new table. Method: solution. Component: data for the new table. Method: configuration migration tool. Component: sitemap. Method: solution package or tool. Correct answer: B. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. Microsoft Excel template. B. Entities component of a solution. C. Microsoft Virtual Studio. D. Templates area. A company plans to add another language to a Microsoft Dataverse environment. Several components were added or modified in the environment. You need to ensure that these components get translated. Which method should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate methods to the correct component types. Each method may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Component type: view method: export and re-import translated text. Component type: email template method: create a separate version for each language. Component type: report method: use embedded labels. A company uses Power Apps. Users must be able to view only the address 1 columns in the account table. You need to ensure other address columns are not visible to users when creating views and filters. What should you do? A. Delete the other address columns from the table. B. Disable the search option for the columns. C. Use column level security to remove read access to all users. D. Create business rules to hide the other address columns. Correct answer: C. A company uses Power Apps. You create a custom table and configure a child table relationship with the contact table. You need to configure the cascading rules for each action. Which behavior should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate behaviors to the correct actions. Each behavior may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Action: custom table record is deleted. Behavior: cascade all. Action: custom table record is shared. Behavior: restrict. You plan to add a Power Apps app to Microsoft Teams. A Microsoft Dataverse for Teams environment has not been provisioned. You need to create a Dataverse for Teams environment. Which two actions can you perform? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. A. Create a new app in Teams. B. Install an existing app in Teams. C. Create a new environment in the Microsoft Power Platform Admin Center. D. Create an app permission policy in the Teams Admin Center. Correct answer, A and B. A company uses Power Apps with Microsoft Dataverse. The company enables auditing on the Dataverse database. The company tenant reaches the maximum storage capacity. You need to delete some auditing data. Which three deletion options should you use? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. A. By record. B. Between two specified dates. C. By table. D. Older than a specified date. E. By column. Correct answer, A, B and D. You have a business process flow. You need to update the business process flow while minimizing administrative and maintenance efforts. What should you implement? To answer, drag the appropriate features to the correct requirements. Each feature may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Select and place. Requirement: allow users to navigate to the previous stage only from specific stages. Feature: power automate flow. Requirement: create checklist records in specific stages on demand. Feature: action step. A company uses a Power Apps app with Microsoft Dataverse. The company requires the import of records into Dataverse. Duplicate records in the data must be deleted without user intervention. You create a duplicate detection rule. You need to configure the rule for the data import. Which option should you configure? A. Enable the during data import option. B. Enable the templates for data import option. C. Disable the allow duplicates option. D. Enable the when a record is created or updated option. Correct answer, A. A company has a model-driven app that uses Microsoft Dataverse. Users need to add an alternate phone number when entering their account information. The users also require a list that displays the customers that do not have an alternate phone number. You need to enable the required features. Which features should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate features to the correct requirements. Each feature may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Requirement: add alternate phone number. Feature: column. List of customers without alternate phone number. Feature: view. You create a model-driven app for an automobile parts help desk. A help desk agent uses a form to gather information about customers' automobiles into custom tables. The names of the tables are client and automobile. The form must pre-populate the following information about the customer from the client table: first name, last name. The agent must be able to type the following information about the automobile: automobile make, automobile model. You need to implement the form. What should you configure? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Requirement: pre-populate client information. Configuration: virtual table. Enter automobile information. Configuration connector. A company uses Power Apps. You enable auditing in Microsoft Dataverse. Users report the following issues when viewing the audit logs: unable to view the read access audit logs, unable to view the account table audit logs. You need to troubleshoot the issues. What are the causes of the issues? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Issue: unable to view the read access audit logs. Auditing is not enabled at the environment level. Issue: unable to view the account table audit logs. Auditing is disabled at the table level. You create an app to manage customer service cases. Cases entered in forms require different types of data to be stored in different types of columns. You need to create forms for each of the following case types. Which form types should you create? To answer, drag the appropriate form types to meet the data entry requirements. Each source may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Case type A. Form type main. Case type B. Form type main. Case type C. Form type main. Case type D. Form type quick create. Case type E. Form type quick view. You are Dynamics 365 customer service developer. A salesperson creates a chart. You need to ensure that the chart is available to all users on the team. Which actions should the salesperson perform? To answer, drag the appropriate actions to the correct users. Each action may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Select and place. Step 1 Action Export the user chart for import as a user chart. Step 2 Share the chart with the team. You implement an editable grid for the account entity. The business team provides the following list of features that they would like you to implement. Group by or sort columns in the current view. Configure a business rule to show an error message. Edit values in calculated fields. Edit the address composite field. Use the editable grid on mobile phones. Which actions can you perform? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Action Group by or sort columns in the current view. Can be performed? Yes. Action Configure a business rule to show an error message. Can be performed? Yes. Action Edit values in calculated fields. Can be performed? Yes. Action Edit the address composite field. Can be performed? No. Action Use the editable grid on mobile phones can be performed? No. You must create a form for team members to use. The form must provide the ability to lock a field on a form. Trigger business logic based on a field value. Use existing business information to enhance data entry. You need to implement business rule components to create the form. Which components should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate components to the correct requirements. Each component may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Requirement Lock a form field. Component actions. Trigger business logic based on a field value. Component conditions. Leverage existing business information to enhance data entry. Component recommendation. You have a form that displays a custom field from an entity. A customer wants to restrict users from filtering on the custom field. You need to prevent users from filtering the field in advanced find. What should you modify? A. Fields in the Edit Filter Criteria option of the Quick Find view. B. A searchable field on the Field Properties form. C. Fields in the Add Find Columns option of the Quick Find view. Correct answer, B. You are designing a Canvas app that connects to common data service. You need to configure the app to meet the requirements and ensure that the Canvas app is available offline. What should you implement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Requirement Pass values from the current screen when moving to another screen. Function Navigate. Display data to a user when the app is offline. Function Load data. You are designing a Canvas app that connects to common data service. You need to see you have a Canvas app that allows users to view, select, and purchase products. The app uses a gallery control to display products and checkboxes that allow users to select products. When users select items from the product catalog, they move to a different screen to complete a purchase. Users must be able to clear all product selections when they click the button. You need to configure the button. What should you do? A. Use the reset control formula and pass the gallery control as a parameter to the reset formula. B. Use the reload control formula and pass the gallery control as a parameter to the reload formula. C. Use the for all function to iterate through each item of the gallery and clear user selections. D. Set the on check value to populate a collection and the on uncheck value to remove the item from the collection. Clear collection when the user selects the button. Configure the app to meet the requirements and ensure that the Canvas app is available offline. What should you implement? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Correct answer, A. You have a Canvas app that contains the following text input fields: id, first name, last name. The app also has a button named Button 1. The onSelect property for Button 1 contains the following expression: collect people. id.text. First name.text, last name.text. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. The people collection is automatically created if it does not already exist. Statement yes. When button is pressed. If a record with the current value of id.text already exists in the people collection, the values for first name and last name are updated. Statement no. If you update the record in the collection function to include the value from a new field named age, it will result in an error. Statement no. You are Dynamics 365 Customer Service Administrator. A user must be able to view system posts and activities in a dashboard. You need to create the dashboard for the user. Which components should you use? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Requirement display system post. Component timeline. Requirement display activities. Component lists. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. Entities component of a solution. B. Microsoft Excel template. C. Microsoft Visual Studio. D. List view of the entity. Correct answer, D. A company is implementing Power Apps and Power Automate. Several components are created within Power Apps, Microsoft Dataverse, and Power Automate. These components must be promoted from the development environment to the user acceptance test environment in a single solution package. You need to create the solution package for promotion. Where should you create the package? A. Azure DevOps. B. Power Apps Designer. C. Microsoft Power Platform Admin Center. D. Azure Portal. E. Office 365 Admin Center. Correct answer, C. A company is creating a Power Apps solution for a production facility. The current solution is in English. The customized components must be translated into several languages. You need to extract the text for translation. In which location can you achieve this goal? A. The tables in the web application. B. The selected environment in the Microsoft Power Platform Admin Center. C. The solution in the web application. D. The individual solution components in the web application. Correct answer, C. You have a Canvas app that allows users to view, select, and purchase products. The app uses a gallery control to display products and checkboxes that allow users to select products. When users select items from the product catalog, they move to a different screen to complete a purchase. Users must be able to clear all product selections when they click the button. You need to configure the button. What should you do? A. Use the reload control formula and pass the gallery control as parameter to the reload formula. B. Use the reset control formula and pass the checkbox to the formula to clear user selections. C. Set the on-check value to populate a collection and the on-uncheck value to remove the item from the collection. Clear the collection when the user selects the button. D. Use the revert products formula and pass the checkbox to the formula to clear user selections. E. Use the reset control formula and pass the gallery control as a parameter to the reset formula. Correct answer, B. A customer tracks events by using a custom entity. The custom entity includes a custom field for the venue of the events. The customer must be able to display the events by venue in a calendar. You need to ensure that all events display by venue in the calendar. To which component should you add a control? A. Form. B. Subgrid. C. Chart. D. View. Correct answer, D. You are creating a Canvas app. A user will click a button on each screen of a Power Apps app to proceed to the next screen. You need to implement the action which selects the next screen that the user sees. Which event should you handle? A. Screen transition. B. On select. C. On load. D. On check. Correct answer, B. A company has a Canvas app that includes the following screens, Screen 1 and Screen 2. The on-visible property for Screen 1 contains the following expression. Set age groups, 1 to 25, 26 to 54, 55 plus, for each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. Age groups can be accessed from Screen 1 Screen 2. Statement no. Age groups is a collection. Statement no. You can use the update function to change values in age groups. Statement yes. You are Dynamics 365 Customer Service Developer. A salesperson creates a chart. You need to ensure that the chart is available to all users on the team. What should you do? A. Share the chart with the team. B. Assign the chart to each person on the team. C. Export the user chart to Power BI. Import the chart as a Power BI visualization. D. Export the user chart for import as a user chart. Correct answer, A. create an app. You need to create the sitemap for the app. Which 3 actions should you perform in sequence? To answer, move the appropriate actions from the list of actions to the answer area and arrange them in the correct order. Select and place actions. Step 1. Add an area. Step 2. Add a group. Step 3. Add a sub-area. Your organization does not permit the use of custom code for solutions. You need to create a view that can be viewed by all users in an organization. Where should you create the view? A. Advanced Find. B. Entities component of a solution. C. Microsoft Virtual Studio. D. Templates area. Correct answer, A. You are configuring a new Power Apps portal. You have 2 web roles, one for authenticated users and one for anonymous users. You grant the anonymous users role to users. A test user reports that they can access the home page but cannot view a page linked from the home page. You need to determine why the test user cannot view the portal page. What is the cause of the issue? A. The setting to make the page available to everyone is disabled. B. Inherited permissions are not enabled for the linked page. C. The authenticated user's web role does not have permission to view the page. D. Maintenance mode is enabled on the portal. Correct answer, B. A company is configuring a Power Apps portal using Microsoft Dataverse. The company requires the following: only authenticated users must be able to sign into the portal. Authenticated users must have varying degrees of access to the different parts of the portal. Users must enter one of several external identities when creating an account during the open registration process. You need to configure user authentication and permissions. Which component should you use? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Configuration required for each authenticated user before security can be assigned. Component contact table record. Configuration required for authenticated users to access restricted pages of the portal. Component web roles. You create a new solution for a business process. The business process includes uploading specific file types to a web service. You need to ensure that the business process works the same way anywhere the solution is deployed. Which option should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate options to the correct configurations. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Configuration blocked file types. Option solution system settings configuration URL to a web service. Option environment variable. A company collaborates by using Microsoft Teams. You must create a Power Apps app directly from within a Teams channel. The app will be used by members of the channel to manage sales orders. You need to create the app by using Dataverse for Teams. How should you create the app? A. Create a Canvas app by using a Power Apps personal app in Teams. B. Create a Canvas app by using the App Studio app. C. Use the Power Apps web designer. D. Create a model-driven app by using the App Studio app. Correct answer, B. A company has a portal. Users sign into the portal by using a social media account. The company wants to replace the existing portal with a Power Apps portal. Users must sign up for access to the portal by using a Microsoft account and a unique invitation code that will be provided to the users. You need to configure authentication for the home page. Which values should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate values to the appropriate authentication settings. Each value may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Select and place authentication setting external sign-in. No. Authentication open registration. No. You are customizing a model-driven app for a company. You create a theme template to ensure the company logo and colors are properly used within these apps. The theme must meet the following requirements: updated to add the logo downloaded by the makers to create the app. You need to configure the assets. To answer, drag the appropriate configurations to the correct requirements. Each configuration may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Requirement: update logo. Configuration: upload the theme elements as new web resources. Requirement: change model-driven app colors. Configuration: replace an existing UI item's hexadecimal number. A user needs to create a Power Apps portal app. The user is getting a permission denied error when creating the portal app. You need to configure permissions to create the portal app. Which 3 permissions should you configure? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. In the Power Platform Admin Center, ensure that the user account has read-write access. B. In Azure Active Directory, assign the contributor role to the application at the subscription scope. C. In Azure Active Directory, ensure that the user has permission to register an app. D. In the Power Platform Admin Center, change the portal app owner to the user. E. In the Power Platform Admin Center, ensure that the user has the System Administrator security role. Correct answer, A, C and D. You have a Power Apps portal app that supports a sales community and a service community in the same environment. The only language configured in the environment is English. The company wants to add support for 2 more languages. The solution must meet the following requirements. Languages must be for both sales and service functions. The company logo and colors must be used and applied to all screens. Communities must be separate with different URLs and access lists. You need to configure the solution. What should you configure? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Requirement languages configuration. Create 2 portals, 1 for each community. Requirement company logo and colors. Configuration add themes. A company is creating a Canvas app and a model-driven app to manage their customer accounts. The Canvas app requires a business rule to set the business type column to large if the customer size is greater than a specific currency value. The model-driven app requires a business rule to recommend the account rating be re-evaluated when the account goes on credit hold for this app only. You need to configure the scope for the business rules. Which scope should you use? To answer, drag the appropriate scopes to the correct business rules. Each scope may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Business rule. Business type column setting for customer size scope table. Business rule account rating re-evaluation scope specific form. A company uses a Microsoft Power Platform environment. The company plans to implement a Power Apps app. The application must meet the following requirements. Audit all user activity and only retain the audit logs for 1 year. Annually remove products that were created over a year ago. You need to configure the automated processes. What should you configure? To answer, drag the appropriate configurations to the correct requirements. Each configuration may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. Requirement audit log retention configuration environment auditing. Requirement product removal configuration bulk deletion job. A company creates a Canvas app. The app requires users to enter their social security number. The app should only display the last 4 digits when the user tabs to a different column. You need to configure the app. Which option should you use? A. Business rule. B. Business process flow. C. Power by DAX. D. Power FX. Correct answer, D. A company uses Power Apps. The company plans to create a Canvas app that uses a responsive design. You need to configure the app. Which 2 actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. A. Disable the scale to fit setting. B. Configure the height and width properties by using drag handles. C. Enable the lock orientation setting. D. Configure the height and width properties by using a formula. Correct answers, A and D. A company uses model-driven apps. Users in the sales department enter the first name, last name, and phone number of customers in the app. The users request a single screen in the app to enter the customer data. You need to configure the app. What should you do? A. Create a Power Automate flow. B. Use a Power Virtual Agents app. C. Create a Canvas app. D. Modify the sitemap. Correct answer, C. You create a Power Apps app for Microsoft Teams using Microsoft Dataverse for Teams. Users report that they are unable to view the app in Teams. You need to ensure that users can access the app. What should you do? A. Share the app with a security group by using the Maker portal. B. Publish the app by using the Maker portal. C. Request that a tenant administrator pin the app to the app bar in Teams. D. Share the app with a security group in Teams. E. Share the app with individual users by using the Maker portal. Correct answer, D. You create a Canvas app. The app requires access to data that is stored in collections. The app must provide the following actions. Create a new collection variable. Remove table values from a collection. You need to configure functions for the app. Which functions should you use? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. Action: create a new collection variable. Function: collect. Action: remove table values from a collection. Function: clear. You plan to create user interface, UI, flows to automate several web-based business processes that you currently perform manually. You need to ensure that users can create and run web UI flows. Which 3 components must you install and configure on users' devices? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Power Automate Desktop. B. Latest version of Microsoft Edge. C. On-premises data gateway. D. Selenium IDE. E. Latest version of Mozilla Firefox. Correct answer, A, B and D. You are designing a desktop user interface, UI, flow. The UI flow automates legacy software. You need to prepare data for transfer to Microsoft SharePoint list. Which 4 actions should you perform in sequence? To answer, move the appropriate actions from the list of actions to the answer area and arrange them in the correct order. Select and place actions. Start recording the UI flow. On the Outputs menu of the UI flow, choose Select Text on Screen. Select information to pass to the SharePoint list. Enter a name and description for the output. You are developing a Canvas app. You need to apply business rules to the app without writing code. Which 3 actions can you use? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. A. Validate data and show error messages. B. Enable or disable fields. C. Set field requirement levels. D. Set field values. E. Show or hide fields. Correct answer, A, C, D.